Alrighty, Lumberjacks, welcome back to another Login Talk episode. So what I'm going to do is I ended up selling the processor, because I figure we've kind of beat that part to death. So in the next couple episodes, I think we'll be able to get a couple episodes out of it. I'll be focusing on forwarding out the rest of the wood to the road, and then we will clean up the rest of the wood that we have stacked up on the roadside here. And probably be moving on to another map is the concept at hand anyhow. But yeah, so what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to continue forwarding along here while we discuss our topic of the day. So topic of the day. I've had a few people ask me this. I swear to God I've answered it somewhere, probably in Logging from Scratch at one point, but I figure we'll go into some more detail. So the topic of the day was, would you ever, have you ever, and will you ever, I guess, work with other modding teams? Or have I ever worked with modding teams? It's kind of a split question, but so yes and no. So yes, I have worked with multiple different modding teams all the way back from FS15, where I originally started working with other teams, and then decided to do things kind of on my own. But I have indeed worked with multiple different people. I found over the years that I find it a lot easier working with just my own self on certain projects. And I've found that from whoever I end up working with, I've always seemed to run into that same kind of world. But to answer the question, I have worked with lots of different people. And I'm not going to name a lot of names or anything on here just because, some relationships were good, some relationships were bad. So I'll kind of go with my original experience. So my original experience was in 2015. I had started doing the logging stuff, and I was really bad at it because I was new to it. I was just kind of basically messing around with it, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And yeah, I was not very good at it. I thought I was pretty horrible. So I had reached out to multiple different groups asking for advice, and most of the groups were pretty not interested in helping, because that's just kind of the way some of the groups are. They like to do things on their own. They're not there to help other modders. They just do their thing and they're good. So that's totally fine. That was their call. But I ran into a couple groups who were willing to teach some of this stuff to me. But then what kind of ended up happening early on with some of those groups is they wanted me to kind of work for them, I guess, as a modder, because they'd seen some of the stuff that I was doing, and I learned lots about the physics engine, and that was kind of the part that a lot of the modders back then didn't understand, while I was complete opposite. So I knew lots about the physics, I knew lots about how to make the grapples better and make things work better, but I didn't know anything about the modeling, I didn't know anything about the texturing, I didn't know anything about any of that. So for the most part, I was like, oh yeah, this is good. My functionality is the best, but my equipment looks like garbage. So a lot of them wanted me to show them how I did my functionality, and I showed lots of them, and there was kind of some agreements and disagreements in the way that I did things, but I just said, well, that's what I do, and it works out good for me. So anyway, as 15 kind of went along, a lot of people were in it really heavily at the beginning of 15, and then towards the end of the game's cycle there, a lot of people kind of jogged off from it and didn't want to be involved with it anymore. So it kind of slowed down. So the people that I was in contact with, modding with and learning with, kind of disappeared, personal life obligations, or, they got job changes, or, whatever the case. A lot of people moved on. So yeah, I kind of went back to doing my own thing again, where I just did that. It wasn't even FDR Logging then, it was first day reviews when I was playing around then. And then eventually I got a little bit better at it in FS15, towards kind of the middle of the game's development, and I put out my FDR Logging. I turned it into that full time. It was pretty cool to be able to kind of do my own thing, because that's kind of what I'd really wanted to do for a long time. And sometimes you just got to jump on it and do your own gig. So once I did that, I started getting a lot more popular towards the end of FS15 with the community and with fans. Again, my equipment was still very, very subpar, not great. in comparison to some of the stuff that was out there for sure. So my reputation was, oh yeah, it works great, but looks like crap. And that was my reputation for a very long time. Because at the time, when I first got into modding, I didn't care about what things looked like. I just wanted them to work the way, close to real life, or work how I thought they should work. But a lot of people were trying to just go for quality instead of functionality, and then I just didn't care. So, like I said, towards the end of FS15, I got a little more attention from both the community and from fans and from other modders and stuff. And I had lots of offers from other groups, and I had taken up a couple offers with some other groups to go try to work with them. But what started happening was I started having a lot more experience than a lot of the people that were in those groups. So, as much as I was happy to teach new people, I found a lot of people just wanted to grab information, and then they wouldn't talk to you ever again once they got what they wanted, until they needed something else again. And I hated that, because I was trying to kind of build, relationships with people, and I wanted to, I really wanted a team that was good and that wanted to work together and, do stuff together as a team, and kind of have that feeling and that aspect. But like I said, unfortunately, a lot of those guys early on that I worked with in a modding aspect, they just were like, hey, Jordan, how do you do this? And I was like, oh, sweet. Hey, man, how's it going? Yeah, I'll show you this. And I gave full detailed explanation, even a video to some of them sometimes. And then it was like, hey, thanks. And then you'd never hear from them again, ever again. And you're like, you'd be like, hey, what you doing? You want to play, or you want to do anything? And then they were just like, they'd just ghost you. So a lot of the times I definitely realized that, oops, there's a tree over here. Oh, it's a broken piece. A lot of the times I realized a lot of the guys were just in it for their own, get their information, get out kind of thing. Which, I understand if you're a modder and you're just looking to grab some information, that's fine. But, so then all the kind of team side of things, right when I went into FS17, that was the same thing where I had lots of people asking, but I was kind of jaded towards people by that point, because I was just like, well, what's the point in teaming up with you? Because, every time I try to team up with someone, they get what they want, and then they disappear, and they don't help me with anything that I ask. So, it's got to be it's like a relationship, it's got to be mutual. If you're getting something from me, I would like to be getting something from you from this. So, and that just didn't happen with a lot of people. So I stopped working with teams around FS17, and then I joined one more group, and that kind of was the real finale for me for joining other modded groups. It was a group of 5 people, and again, I'm not naming names because I'm not trying to shame people, whatever. Everybody's grown up and moved on, I hope, by now. But I joined another group, which was kind of I guess you'd call it a collective of different modders that all kind of liked logging and wanted to do stuff. And I kind of joined up with them very tiptoey. I didn't get too into it, but I joined up with them and was, discussing projects. And we wanted to make, as kind of a start sample, we wanted to make a project together as a team. Like one mod to just show we can do something together kind of thing. And man, like it started off okay, I did a lot of work on the project myself, getting functionality. I know another guy who did a lot of work on the modeling and got that all functionality. But there was about 10 of us in the group, and we found a lot of people joined the group just kind of to be part of the group as opposed to actually helping out. So I don't know if you guys have ever been pinned in high school doing like a science project where they team you up with 4 other people to practice your teamwork skills. And then you usually have like 2 people in the group who are like really, really good and do a lot of the work, and then everybody else just kind of goes, whatever. So there was about 3 of us in this group of 10 people that did a lot of the work and talked to each other and stayed in communication. And then everybody else was just there kind of because they wanted their name on it. They didn't really do anything to really help us in the group. So kind of towards, we never even ended up releasing the mod or the map that we were working on together, because it ended up being such a nightmare by the end of it. So many people had complained and whined and freaked out about it. Like, oh, I want to do this instead. Oh, scrap the whole project. Oh, screw it, I don't want to do this anymore. This is dumb. And it just turned into this big battle. And then a whole bunch, like the 3 people that actually worked on the project were like, okay, well, we're happy with the work we've done on it, and you guys haven't really contributed anything to it. other than, you know, suggestions, but none of you actually put any work onto it. So we're going to release it. And, you know, if you guys want to keep your name on there, that's fine. Well, man, they just flip showed when we said that. Absolutely not. My name's not going on that until it's got this and this and this and this. And I said, okay, well, you're going to add that and that and that and that on there? Or are you just sitting back and expecting us to do this all for you? And then it turned into a big battle and everybody got into a big fight. And that was the point where one of the other guys jumped ship first, one of the 3 that were actually working. So he was like, screw this. This is stupid. If I wanted this, I would go get it for my job because I can get enough of that in real life. So he just said, screw it, I'm out. So then it was just me and the other guy that did pretty much the majority of the rest of the work. And I talked to him and I said, so what are we going to do here? Should we, like, is this ever going to get released? Or are we going to just quit like the other buddy there? And he said, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to jump on the project too and get out of here because I don't want to be part of this whole disastrous mess that is starting to happen. And I agreed too. So we sent it to the rest of the group saying, yep, I'm out and he's out. And then they all had a big flip show and a big, you know, the usual cry fest about, well, we hated you all anyway. So that was my experience of my teams in 17. So after that had happened, that was the end for me. I didn't want to do anything at all whatsoever with mods at all with other people. Now, the only other time that came up in 17 was towards the end. And this is one that's positive, so I will name names because it was a good experience regardless of it ending or not. But so Chad, Mithras Catalyst or Catalyst Gaming, multiple different names. He was the original guy that wanted to start doing maps for console back in 17. He wanted to get Smoky Mountain and not Grizzly Mountain. Pacific Inlet. He wanted those ones to get to console. And I told him, I said, I've tried console a few times and I absolutely hate it. I hate the way it's set up. I hate the system and then the constant inconsistencies of their instruction when they give you to fix things. I was just super annoyed by it, and I said, screw it. So Chad took on the task of trying that out, and he had it in his mind. He wanted to get those mods to console, and he did. He worked really hard for months on end, and he got them on there, and I couldn't believe it because I was just like, wow, all right. So yeah, he was the one who got stuff on console. I literally had zero to do with that, and to this day I tell people, I'm like, the guy who got it on console was him, not me. I may have built the maps, but he went back, he fixed the textures that they required for Xboxes and PlayStations. He went back, he worked with Giants to get all that stuff sorted out. And, even listening to his experience, it was not like the best time ever trying to deal with Giants. They were a pain in the ass and a lot of inconsistencies with what they told him to do. And then he'd do it, and then it was like, oh, well, we actually meant this instead. So it was a very long, very painful process for him to get that figured out. Anyway, so as Chad was getting stuff on console, that was when I met Bobcat Logger as well. And he was another guy who started working on projects with me as well. I can't remember. That was kind of towards the end of 17, more towards the beginning of 19, if I remember correctly. But yeah, anyway, so he started working on some models and stuff, and he was working with Chad as well to add structures to maps, and we kind of formed a little bit of a team at first where we were kind of working together kind of randomly on different things, and it worked out quite well for the most part. And then in 19, FS19 came along. We started planning lots of projects at the beginning, and it was going fine because we wanted to put a lot of stuff on console. We got Chad got Grizzly Mountain on console after it built it. He worked to get a couple others on there as well, and then he started kind of doing his own thing. But the biggest problem we had from when we were modding together was that I was extremely busy in my own personal life, so I wasn't working on the console stuff at all. I wasn't doing any of it. I didn't have any interest in console at first, and I originally wanted to get machines on console because I remember saying, with Bobcat being the modeler on the team and Chad being the console guy who had experience, I figured we'd have a chance to get stuff onto the console world. But yeah, after we kind of done a little bit of that stuff, it just it just wasn't working out. I think some of us all wanted different things, and I'm stubborn on some things. I know that's just the way I am. But I wanted certain things a certain way, and we all had our disagreements in various little forms and shapes and stuff. So, but console I think was the biggest issue. I think if we would have stuck to PC, we probably would have still been doing it to date without a problem. But unfortunately, that's just the way she goes sometimes. But it wasn't a bad experience. Even towards the end, when we finally split up as a group, like I stayed in touch with both of them. I mean, to this date, me and Chad are still in the same Discords and BS and play other games together. So it's not like it was like, oh, screw you, quit kind of thing. We're both good friends, and I still talk to Bobcat randomly. He's a little bit of a busier guy because he logs in real life, so I don't get to talk to him very often. But he's still on my Discord, and I still talk to him as well. And like I said, there was no hard feelings between any of us. It was just we all mutually agreed it was getting a little too much for us in our personal lives, and we all just kind of said, well, that was fun, let's try something else. And then I just vowed to keep doing my own thing because I wanted to, keep logging and keep that whole ambition going. And I just found doing a lot of the stuff, I don't like waiting on things. If I want to do something, I want to do something now. And that's not to any of their fault. We all have busy lives, and we all have different schedules on when we can do things. So for the most part, I would have a little bit more spare time than they did on the weekends or whenever, because, they have families and other stuff going on in their lives too. While me being a single guy, my wife and I hang out all the time, so we never had kids or anything like that to worry about, so it was I have a lot more free time to not have to worry about family matters per se. So, after doing that for a while, we just all kind of determined to do our own thing, and then we were just friends outside of it. So, like I said, it was a positive experience. It wasn't it wasn't a negative experience. It wasn't a bad thing the way that whole group went down. But like I said, I wanted to continue on and keep doing FDR logging, so I started doing my own thing and kept going all the way through 19 till where we are now. And so that's the story of modding experience when it comes to groups. Both positive and negative. Positive being, Chad and them was the most positive experience I had working with a team. And I've worked with other people, and by worked with, I've had people share models with me. I've had people ask advice. When it comes to people constantly asking me like collaborative projects and working together in collaborations, that's not something I'm a big fan of doing. Mostly because I always find that I want to do something some way, and then another person wants to do it another way, and I prefer we both do it, and then see who prevails in the end. That's kind of what I like doing. But working with teams, I find sometimes a little bit tricky. I'm kind of always been a very work by myself kind of guy, very independent. Not to say I can't work with a team, but wouldn't say I'm the world's most team player when it comes to projects that I care about anyway. Let's go with that. Because I do care about this stuff. And I like to have it a certain way. And that's just the way she goes. But yeah, so, I've still to this date had multiple offers to go work with other logging groups and modding groups. A lot of people want to know a lot of the stuff that I do. I don't mind sharing some of the information I do, but a lot of this stuff I worked really hard to learn on my own. And I feel like, you're giving up the secret sauce when you tell people everything about everything. Everybody always asks why I don't do mod tutorial videos. And for the most part, I've done a few things where I will reveal information. I'll give you guys tips, that kind of stuff. But I have my own process, and I have a certain way I like to do things. It might not be right to a lot of people, but it's the way that I've always used, and I like it. First of all, the reason I don't usually do modding tutorials is because I don't think my way is the best way to do it. I think there's probably better ways, but I do it my own way, and I'm not looking for criticism on the way I do my modding. That's, I think, the biggest one. Because I have a feeling if I put out a bunch of mod tutorials, there'll be a bunch of people who just go, oh, that's absolutely ludicrous. You can't do it that way. You need to do it this way. This is the proper way. Well, I don't care what the proper way is in your eyes. I know what works, and I know how it goes. I've been doing this for a long time, and I can see where the fails and the wins line up with each other. So, yeah, I'm not concerned at all about the way I do things if it's not the way you do things. So that's number one. Not looking for the criticism of it because I don't care. My way is different. Might not be the right way. It's the way I do it. Don't care. So I just do it that way. And like I said, the second part is I have done so much trial testing and testing and playing around in this game to get to the knowledge that I know now. And it wasn't a book that taught me. It wasn't a tutorial guide that taught me. It was me going in here for 12 hours a day some days when I was on a vacation day. And I would sit in here for 12 hours playing with the physics, changing micro fractions of numbers to see, and then reloading the game and jumping back in to see what it changed on the trees, to see what it changed on the machines, what level balances what. And it's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours that I've dropped into learning how things interact with each other in this game and what the best way to do stuff is, or well, the best we can get anyway. And it does feel like a secret sauce to me, the family recipe that you don't want to let out. Not because I don't want people to have it, but because I want people to have to go learn it like I did. I want you to, like, the reason I'm good at, well, you know, maybe not to everybody, but the reason I am considered good at modding is because I put that time in to get that experience. I can tell you guys 100 million things, but it's not going to make you me. I can teach you everything that I know, and you guys still won't be able to do a lot of the stuff because you haven't gone through the experience of trying it. You know, go learn the basics, which are available everywhere. There's tons of modders out there that do a lot of the basics, the basic training, the basic how to do things. And then from there, you just got to get creative and play around and break things and have fun and just learn. Maybe one day we'll be able to USB chip all of our experience into something you can upload it in the back of your head or something. But till then, you gotta go do the work, put the work in. And like I said, I can teach you guys anything you want, but if you don't go try and get the experience getting there that you get from actually doing it, you will never be as good. You have to go work. And if you don't believe me, ask any big modder that. And yeah, it's not particularly like a selfishness of like going, oh, well, I had to learn and now you have to learn the hard way. It's just I want people to actually have to go learn. I don't want to tell you all the answers. I want you to, if you have questions, by all means ask. But as far as teaching tutorials, you know, I think I'd just confuse you guys, to be honest. You need to get the experience. Get in there, test it out, have some fun, learn. So yeah, that along with a lot of other reasons are why I don't usually work with teams, because I have very particular ways that I do things, and I don't think a lot of people agree. Well, I've run into lots of people that are similar to me in that essence, where they have their way they do things, and then I have my way that I do things. And I find that's very clashy when you try to work with other people. But doesn't mean it's never possible. It just means you gotta do things your way. Make it work your way. Some people in teams, I agree, teams work better when they work well together. Some people find that, they're only good at one certain aspect of something. The biggest problem I find with Farming Simulator modders in general is you can't just be one person who knows one thing and add to the group. Everybody wants to be everything. So I would if I had a team, I would love a guy who just does the modeling. That's all he does. He builds models and he puts them available in model shape to me, and that's it. That's the end. That's all you do. That's your contribution. Wonderful. Create the thing. And then I want a person who would be just the person, like I'm just saying, like if I didn't do it all myself, this is how I'd do it. I'd have one person who just did the functionality, like the actual getting the parts and pieces working on the machine. and all the coding and all that fun stuff. And then you need somebody who would be the actual person testing it and playing with it, and just like a real gaming company, I guess that'd be the way to do it. But the problem with FS modders is if you put a team together, everybody is in the same boat. We're all independent modder people that have gotten as far as we have by doing it all ourselves, most of us, I would say. So when you try to get a group of those independent-minded people together, that's when you start to get a little Clash of the Clans going on, because suddenly, oh, I've been doing it this way for 30 years. Once I get past this step, you better do it this way. Well, that's not how I did it for 30 years. I want to do it this way. Okay, well, now you're no longer a team. You're now fighting each other for what the better way is. That's why if you really, truly want a good team, you need to really separate people from each task. And it's not their call. There needs to be a manager or a person who oversees the whole project, the owner, a person who models, a person who functions, a person who tests, a person who promotes. And that's all they do. That's their jobs independently. They don't have any intercommunicate. Well, I mean, not no communication. I just mean no say in the final process. Because I think that's in every single group that I've worked with, it's always been everything goes up great till the final part where everyone suddenly disagrees with each other because they've done it a better way, their own way. So if you really want a good team in anything, I think, or in FS, you need to have everybody who's specialized in their specific fields and they stick to their specific fields. And then if there's any disagreement, you have one person who makes the final decision whether it's good or bad based on their experience. That would be the way. But also, because this is a voluntary community where everybody volunteers their time, it's not at all a money-making community. And anybody who is making money in this community, I'm surprised by you. Granted, I have made a little more money in YouTube than I've ever made, especially in this past year. Because I got more promotion, more videos, more stuff. I can make up to $200-300 a month on YouTube on a good month. Sometimes I make very much less than that, but between that and donations, it's been fantastic. But you can't hire a team to work and do this stuff and try to stay alive based on a modding group. You just can't. I know people who have tried, and I know people who are a lot more sneaky than some of the nastier people I've met, and they've tried a lot of weird stuff to try to get monetization or donations or paid mods, all kinds of stuff. And there's just no way to do it. So, this isn't something you can dedicate your life to as a career. Because Lord knows I haven't, and I can't. I've dedicated a lot of time to it because it's something I like, but there's no way in hell you could dedicate this as, a career and say this is going to be my job. Unless you plan to use this as experience going forward, to join a gaming company, say I worked on all these mods, I did this and this. I have good vision of what the game's end product looks like. But no, for the most part, not so much. Not so much. So yeah, I don't know. Game development in general I've always been interested in game development, but for the most part, it's such an independent industry these days, and you start to see more and more gaming companies that are, independent of themselves. They're not a huge corporation company, like you get games like Rockstar or like Bungie, that kind of stuff, where they're huge development teams working on multiple different projects a day, where there's hundreds of people, modelers, level designers, you name it. They all have their special places, right? But now you start to see, as 2020 comes up, those companies are a little more far and in between. It's more, 5-man teams, that kind of stuff that you see working on stuff and getting games out, like on Steam or on Early Access or Kickstarter. So it's funny because you watch the gaming industry and how it develops, and then you watch how you work on teams in Farming Simulator, and it really is the separation of who does what on a team that makes the difference, and how much say they have in final stuff. So I don't know. Maybe you guys have worked with teams in real life. Maybe you guys have worked with teams in games yourselves. But leave leave something in the comments about what you think, you know. Have you ever worked on a team that worked out really well? Was it because you all had the same opinion? Was it because you all had something very different that you did with each other? Because I would hazard a guess that the best teams in the world just do what they're told, and that's what they do. Because you're not going to have a level designer come to the very end and be like, you know what, I don't really like the way the gunfire works on this character. Right? You're not going to have that because, you know what, he doesn't have a final say in that project. But feedback is good, but indecisiveness is bad, especially when it comes down to a volunteer structure. But yeah, I don't know. You guys let me know what you've experienced. So anyway, we've kind of piled up quite a bit of wood here. So maybe in the next one we'll kind of grab that loader and load some of that stuff up and get it out of here, and then we will press on with the forwarder till we get to the other end of the road here, clean that up, and yeah, we'll move on to a new map. And hopefully we'll have some more subjects to talk about. You guys have to give me some more subjects because I'm running out of stuff to talk about. And then when I run out, I can't record a video for a while. And then we'll have to stop the series. We don't want that, do we? Maybe we do. I don't know. Anyway, I'll let you guys go. We'll catch you in the next one. See ya.